G'day legends, I hope that you're all doing well. Now this will likely be my last video for the next couple of days as I'm actually travelling interstate for my grandfather's 80th birthday. Now, it'll be the first time my entire family has been together really since the beginning of the spicy flu. You can't say those words online or else you're in a little bit of trouble on this website. But I'm really looking forward to this weekend and actually taking some time off. I feel like I've been burning the candle at both ends, which I'm more than happy to do, but just sitting in this office has got me absolutely stir crazy. I'm not an office sort of person. Before we get into the maps, this war is the first war we've seen that's basically been live broadcast with the public being involved in such a major way. You know, the first time a large scale that we've seen drones, phones, GoPros deliver footage directly off the front lines of the battlefield into your phone and then into your home. The savagery of this war is no different to past wars, but being able to log in and see what's happening firsthand is absolutely different and will change wars forever. You know, for example, seeing a young man unarmed, wounded in a trench, and then being picked off by a drone or deciding to take their own life. This is now widely available absolutely instantly with thousands of Twitter and Telegram warriors who have never even thought about serving a day in their life will laugh, criticise and justify some of these which are blatant war crimes and complete disregard for halls to combat, which specifically protects soldiers whose wounds sustained by individuals are no longer able to participate in combat due to their condition. And this broadcasting is something that I'll never get used to. We should hold ourselves, our allied forces and even our adversary to a higher standard, especially ourselves to one of competence at winning war, but also the one of law and order and empathy. We should not succumb or slip to that standard of the enemy being fought. It doesn't mean you don't give hell to the side you're fighting, but it means you uphold the standards and legal framework of which you've set. This all goes back to an eye for an eye. Remember, you could easily be one of the young lads fighting in a war that a few elites have waged off outdated ideologies, a dream of their utopia, financial and political gains as well. I hope people seeing these scenes gives us an idea that we can never let this happen again and that modern humans are better than this. People thought it would be the same after all these major wars and nothing has changed, except weapons and soldiers have become more deadly and more efficient. But now with my introduction over, let's have a look at the maps, talk about a few things. And I'm being told from an insider source that over the next 10 days to expect a very active environment. Now, also yesterday we did see Ukraine take a major bit of land just to the southwest of Bakhmut, and Progression said in the video that they lost 500 men. Now, some people have filled me in with some translation there saying that they didn't lose 500 men in that counteroffensive, but that Wagner needed 500 men to take those positions in the beginning anyway. So that was somewhat lost in translation. But here we go. On the map, of course, we've got Ukraine in the centre, the capital of Kyiv. Red areas occupied since 22, and purple since 14, this being Crimea, Donetsk, and Luhansk. Here, the green areas liberated by Ukraine since 22. Romania, Poland, Belarus, and Russia around here. So let's come down into Bakhmut and see what has changed. As we know, the Deep State hadn't updated for a couple of days, but it has now updated, and we have some updated looks on these maps, although it is a little bit behind from the time it is now. But what we see yesterday, so we step back to the 8th was the last map update we got, and this is what we talked about yesterday. Just to the east of Stopochki, we see this push in here, past this waterway here, that is said to be 2 or 3 kilometres long. So let's just take from this furthest out point to back in here, I'm guessing somewhere. So we're talking, there's 2 kilometres. So if we then get rid of that and step back, so further in from there what we saw, but we're talking about 2 kilometres in there. Now, what have we seen right in the centre of Bakhmut that we have seen since the 8th to now the 10th? Russia confirmed more territory pushing up along where this road is, where we talk about that it loops around, and confirming more ground in the centre of Bakhmut. Now, what is the ISW showing? It's showing almost the exact same as the Deep State in the yellow claimed control, but not similar in the red assessed control, although it is showing more assessed control on this eastern bank from what we have seen on the last couple of days. So here we have yesterday's map, and as we can see from today, it is now closed over this bit here, and it is showing these advances to the east from Stopochki here, but not in the length that the Deep State and some other maps are showing. Now, we also have some Rybar maps to have a look at, and this translated from Rybar: the fierce fighting continues in Bakhmut. At the moment, the front line in the city has actually frozen. So let's compare today's Rybar compared to the Deep State and have a look, and then we'll compare them together. So here we go. So it's saying that there is red held territory right around this road here and down through this area. So fairly similar, as well as grey zone areas of active fighting up where these road splits in two, which is this area, and through the centre here. So very similar. Let's have a look at the 11th of May map from Rybar compared to the 9th, which was the one we had yesterday here. So on the left, we have the Rybar from the 9th of May, and on the right from the 11th. And is there any significant changes that we can see? Not really. It's all looking fairly the same, being assessed along here, which is in line with it. They're saying that the centre sees no significant changes. Now, what does the ISW have to say about this? And this is in line with what we saw of the easterly push yesterday from the Ukrainian forces. So Ukrainian forces conducted successful limited counter-attacks around Bakhmut on May 9. Geolocated footage on May 9 and 10 indicates that Ukrainian forces likely conducted successful limited counter-attacks north of Kromove, west of Bakhmut, and northwest of Bilahora, and made marginal advances in these areas. Ukrainian sources claimed at May 9 that Ukrainian forces destroyed the 6th, 8th companies of the 72 Motorised Rifle Brigade and the 3rd Army Corps near Bakhmut, and advanced 2.6 kilometres along a 3-kilometre frontline area, although ISW has not observed visual confirmation of these reported wider Ukrainian advances, and that isn't shown on either the Deep State, the Rybar, or the ISW map. And they continue to talk about Russia's capability in these regions, so persuasive issues with Russian combat capability exacerbated by continued attritional assaults in the Bakhmut area are likely considerably constrained by the ability of Russian forces in this area to defend against localized Ukrainian counterattacks like we saw yesterday. The Russian military command's apparent commitment of elements of a formation that has suffered 2 successive defeats to the Bakhmut axis alongside already attrited Wagner elements likely offer Ukrainian forces opportunities to exploit with limited counterattacks, as we have seen over the past couple of days. A Russian mill blogger citing a Wagner commander active in the Bakhmut area additionally reported that the alleged withdrawal of the 72nd Brigade was a result of severe miscommunication between the command of the 72nd Brigade and the Wagner group. Issues with the ad hoc commitment of various depleted force groupings to the Bakhmut axis alongside apparent command and control failures are likely preventing Russian forces in the area from conducting sound defensive operations. So we have seen that Russia has made some ground in the centre of Bakhmut, but hasn't been able to protect the flanks to the degree that they need to continue holding this. But we do see here that Deep State does show more advancement up to this road of life through Kromove here. Now, somewhere we're going to talk about which isn't being spoken about that much and should be, because there's been some major shifts, is AVdivka. Now, what have we seen in the past 48, 72 hours? No real change on the Deep State map, which is no change of the rest of the front line either on Deep State, although I think this map has been shifted through this region here, and this is somewhat in line with the ISW, showing that Kamyanka has come under control. But where we do see these changes is on War Mapper. So although these maps don't look the same, on the left we have the one from last week and we have today. Now, they're saying that there are advances from today, being that Kamyanka has come under control and there's been advances through this east side of this major road here, which is under yellow, only assessed control by the Russian forces here, but that they have moved beyond this road as well. And there are advances which are seen as new, as this was just down along this border here, and that small village of Kamyanka has come under control there. So on the left we have the 9th of May from Rybar in AVdivka, and on the right we have the 11th of May today from AVdivka. Now what do we see? We see a huge shift on this eastern bank. You can just see, if your eyes are good, this sort of lighter, darker red area here. I'm not even sure if it's lighter or darker, but a different red in this area here that has moved a long way past this major road. So this is the major road here. This is Kamyanka, and we look at this small reservoir and this reservoir here that they're saying they've pushed all the way down through this region across here and have pushed well past in this region here and have closed up more of the gap to the northeast of Opotny through this region here, right up onto this 9th district. That this map is saying from Rybar Russian sources that there's been major pushes in AVdivka that seem to be in line with the War Mapper map. So we look at the War Mapper and this War Mapper here. So to get an idea that it is showing this Russian presence to the north of Opitny up here, although not as far on the northeast, of course, but it is showing it is Kamyanka as well, but it isn't showing this right in through here that Rybar is claiming, although we will see if this updates in the next couple of days and how that looks, showing that on the deep state, the grey area is still on this side where it is saying it's right down through here by the Rybar maps. And as I always say, I believe the best way to look at these maps is a mix of the Rybar and the deep state from there. But it'll become more obvious when we have the next update how AVdivka is looking from there. And if that was taken, that is a large amount of land in somewhere that has been besieged for a long period of time. Now, let's look at the latest intelligence update as well from the British MOD. On May 9th, 2023, the makeup of Russia's annual Victory Day parade in Red Square highlighted the material and strategic communication challenges the military is facing 15 months into the war in Ukraine. Over 8,000 personnel reportedly took part in the parade, but the majority were auxiliary paramilitary forces and cadets from military training establishments. We've talked about this. The only personnel from deployable formations of regular forces were contingents of railway troops and military police. Railway troops are very important. We both have them in the States and in Russia as well to rebuild railways. Continuing, a vintage T-34 from a ceremonial unit was the sole tank on parade. Despite heavy losses in Ukraine, Russia could have fielded more armoured vehicles. We've spoken about this too, that Russia definitely could have put more vehicles on there if they really wanted to, and the lone T-34 is a symbol we've seen through many of these Victory Day parades, although we do know heavy losses have been taken in Ukraine of Russian armoured corps. The authorities likely refrain from doing so because they want to avoid domestic criticism about prioritising parades over combat operations, which is the criticism that was copped last year about these parades as well. Now, the Pentagon has confirmed that Ukraine downed a Russian hypersonic missile, being the Kinza, using a Patriot Missile anti-defence system on Thursday. Now, initially, it was unknown if the Patriot could actually intercept these missiles and what specific variant of Patriot Ukraine was receiving, what updates it had had. But this is from Pentagon Press Secretary Brigadier General Pat Ryder. And he is asked here.
Ukrainians say they used a Patriot missile to intercept a Russian Kinza or Killjoy missile. Was the U.S. able to confirm that? And what did you learn from the intercept of what Putin has called an impossible to intercept missile? And then how much concern is there about Ukraine's current stock of air defense munitions? Do they have enough given the continued Russian barrages?
Yeah, thanks, Oren. So first of all, when it comes to Ukraine's readiness, its inventory, or details of missile intercepts, I'd refer you to them. I can confirm that they did down a Russian missile by employing the Patriot missile defense system.
So we know that the Patriot was used to down a missile, but he didn't say what missile. And here another journalist then clears this up.
You did confirm that a Patriot downed this Kinza missile. Did
Correct.
I hear that right?
Correct.
Was this a U.S.-provided Patriot or one from the Dutch or Germans?
Yeah, in terms of those kinds of operations.
So he can't give details on that, but giving confirmation that a Kinza was downed by a Patriot system, but it could have been not from the States because there have been multiple countries give Patriots to Ukraine. We know the Patriot is a very good system, but very complex. Now, we've seen a lot of images earlier from this of the Kinza missile destroyed. We have these images of the Kinza missile being destroyed. So we have the plane carrying the Kinza underneath, and these two photos that were released here with the hole in the side where the air defense hit it and it coming into the ground here. Now, these photos did create a lot of speculation to begin with. The mayor of Kiev, Vitaly Klitschko, has released this video said to be with the Kinza missile, and this has sent the internet into a massive frenzy. So here is the video here of him beside this. Beside the Kinza missile and showing this. Now, I want to show you that this is, to my eye, the same missile here is in the same way, so we can confirm that this is the same hit here. So we're talking about this photograph down here, and because this was sideways in the beginning, I believe that this is the same missile. You can see this scratch, and then it comes out to the right, and this scratch out to the right, as well as this minor scratch here down from this crack, and this piece missing. All looks fairly similar to me, although I am happy to be wrong if this is a different missile here, as I could not get this translated. But this was released in saying that this was the shot down Kinza missile. And like I said, this has sent the internet into a frenzy, with pro-Russian accounts quick to call it that is not a Kinza, as a Kinza has a diameter of 1.2 meters, as you see it here next to a Russian troop here, putting it under the belly of a plane, with a very obvious size difference. With the Ukrainian side defending that it is just the warhead that he's holding, not the missile itself. But the Russian side is saying that it is one of these AB500s. And we have this image here of the missile with these two holes in it here, and these said to be these hooks. But if you ask me, these are too far apart on this one, so I don't know if it is exactly that. But it is an interesting case study to have a look at to see if it is actually that. The shape definitely does seem to line up more with that, but as well, it could be the warhead. Now, I'm definitely not qualified to speak on air defense system capabilities, and anyone who is, it's all classified information anyway. But what I want to ask is, what do you guys think? Is this the mayor holding a Kinza or something else? I don't know, as we've seen a lot of speculation around missiles before. This is important to know because if Patriot can shoot down Kinza, this is a massive issue. Russia's missile systems and future systems. This comes as Polish media have reported that a Russian Kh-55 missile has landed in their territory. Now, remember that this isn't the first missile we've seen land in Poland, as a Ukrainian air defense missile late last year, while defending from a missile attack, entered into Polish airspace, killing 2 farmers. And this is from the Polish media here that is put out. This is a Russian CH, but I believe that's a translation error. It's 55 missile found in this region. Reporters unofficially found out these are only preliminary findings of the Air Force Institute of Technology, which is creating an expert opinion on this object for the prosecutor's office. The findings of the Air Force Institute of Technology show that the cruise missile most likely came from across the eastern border because the Polish army does not have this armament either in equipment or in warehouses. We do not have such rockets nor systems that could launch them, and if this missile has come across and cruised into that airspace and landed, that is a big deal, although we have seen other missiles said to be strikes in Moldova as well. Also, a new $1.2 billion military aid package was announced from the US to Ukraine, and this is including air defense systems, ammunition, and funds for training. And this is in line with the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, the USAI. Now, the USAI funds will be used to purchase weapons, allowing President Joe Biden's administration to buy weapons from industry rather than pulling them from US stocks, as well as using the president's emergency funds that don't need to go through Congress to use as well. But other than that, it is really the calm before the storm, and we're not seeing that much change or that much happening today. Now, I won't see you before the weekend, so have a great weekend. If you'd like to support me, there's links down below, but never feel obliged. I really appreciate you guys being here. Have a great weekend. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.